Hey, if you're a Compass agent, if you're an agent at e-brokerage and you believe that this private listing movement, because that's what it is, it's a movement, is what's best for your buyers and your sellers and your fellow agents, your brokerage, the industry, the future of the industry, then who can blame you for acting the way that you're acting, saying the things that you're saying, and doing the things that you're doing? You absolutely should stand up for what you believe is right. You feel wronged in any kind of way, and there is a movement to get behind that's going to stand up to the wrongdoing that's happening in the industry, then who is going to blame you for that? Nobody. But here, I want to ask you a serious question. Can I have a conversation with you? Because I also and believe something 1,000,000% that I'm very passionate about, and that is that you are being lied to. And you might hear that and you might think, nope, I'm going to turn this video off. And that's fine if you do. But this is where the problem is in the industry, in the world, right this second as we stand. And that is, if someone disagrees with you or has a different opinion, we just say, we don't want to talk to them. We're not going to talk to them. We're going to stay in our bubble. We're going to think what we think. We are just going to assume that we are 100% correct. We're not going to be open-minded to listening to anything that the opposition has to say, and we're just going to stay where we are. That is not progression. That is regression, right? That's what takes civilizations down. If you have a position in an argument, okay, talking to someone on the other side of that argument only improves your position. How, Ricky? Because you either realize that you were right, which is a good thing to get confirmation, or you learn something new that helps you realize that maybe you're all the way wrong, partly wrong, or maybe just a little bit wrong. And at that point, you're able to improve your position. You may stay on the other side, whatever the case may be, but you improve your position. Talking to the other side of the argument does nothing but good and helps situations progress. That's why this conversation is a much needed conversation, because just like you feel an obligation to your clients to stand up for what you feel is right, that they have been wronged, I feel the exact same way that you do about them, about you. As the real estate agent, I feel like you are being wrong, and I need to stand up for what I feel is right in this scenario. So I want to break all of this down because I've talked to so many agents, broker owners, industry leaders, on air, off air, the whole nine yards. I've done more research than probably anybody has done on this subject. I've talked to so many people in the comments and DMs, and I've heard every single angle of this argument that can possibly be out there. Over and over and over again, mind you, I've hit the bottom of the barrel when it comes to hearing all the different angles of this argument. And I can just say I've come to the conclusion, the only conclusion that I see that's even available at this point. I want to break all this down. I want to break down the arguments for you. And if I miss something, please feel free to throw it in the comments. I'm reading every single comment and I'm responding to every single comment because this is important to me, because I care about the industry, and mostly I care about the consumers, buyers and sellers. And what is happening right now, the direction that this is going in. Robert came out today, the CEO of Compass, and said, we are not abiding by the clear cooperation policy. We are just going to completely ignore this rule that is with an organization that we choose to be with. You guys realize it is your choice to be a member of NAR, to be a member of your local MLS, and abide by the code of ethics and the rules that are in place. That's a choice. That is a choice. And those rules have created the current system that we have that enables us the power, the absolute incredible power to sell homes so fast, lightning speed. If you go to one of these other countries, they'll tell you they are so incredibly envious of us and what we have. It's not even funny. We want to tear that down now. over trying to use listings as some lead magnets? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I want to break all of this down, but my point is that we choose. There's probably, I don't know the exact number. Let's just throw out there that there's at least 500,000 to 1 million real estate agents who aren't members of NAR or aren't members of MLSs that are out there, selling properties that don't abide by any of these rules. So first and foremost, this is a choice. They say it's not clear cooperation, it's forced cooperation. No, it isn't. You don't have to be a part of this membership. That's what I think is so funny about the Zillow lawsuit with them banning Compass listings, because it seems like that's what you want. Like, it's the big bad Zillow, they're doing all the wrong stuff and they're all in it for them. I mean, the best way to combat that is just not have your listings on the platform. So it's like, wouldn't you want them to ban your listings? Like, isn't that a step in the direction you want to go in? No. We want our listings there. We just don't like what they're doing with the listings. Okay. So you want them there, right? Why do you want them there? Because it's literally the way that we liquidate houses so fast. Compass said 94% of their listings, of their private listings, ended up on MLS anyway after they couldn't sell them themselves, or their private listing methods didn't work, or they squeezed as many buyer leads as they could out of it, chalking it up to the name of seller choice and testing the market. I've heard all the arguments. I want to break all of this down. Last week, I had the chance to sit down with the president of growth of Compass, Mr. Rory Golod. And you guys can watch the entire interview below. I'll put a link. It was live streamed. It's unedited. So nothing is being taken out of context. These are all words that came directly out of his mouth. Let's hear right now a few things that he had to say during that podcast.
The intention of it, the focus of it, the goal of it is not to do deals. The agenda that Compass has is I want to help agents win more listings. 94% of those listings go to the market. If you're an agent and you do not have access to the MLS, you can't do your job. One of the things I hear often is, oh, you're just trying to double end deals. So we're talking about what, 2% of the listings? It has nothing to do with double ending listings.
But you can use the private listings on your website to try to get more buyers.
You buyers can absolutely go and see that. But again,
right. So that's a way, it's like not, so we can't define it as double ending deals, but actually using the private listings to get more business.
But isn't it the job of a brokerage? Isn't it the job of an agent to do everything they can to grow their business and get more business?
Listing agent's name is everywhere on the listing, just to be clear.
Not on certain portals. Not on certain
Which portals?
Not on Zillow.
Yeah, it is.
You're right.
I would have loved to have kept some of my listings, right? But I was like, that was kind of like the greedy side of me saying, oh yeah, let me hang on to these for a second. Even though that might not have been what was best for the consumer. Of course, I couldn't do that. I had to put it on MLS. I had to do
ultimately you did actually what's in the best interest of your clients. And that's
right.
By the way, that's why you were successful.
Are you guys hearing this? Okay. The reason that Ricky Carruth, have been so successful is because I ultimately do what's best for the consumer. And in that moment, I was talking about putting my property on MLS immediately and not holding it back. Do you guys realize what happened during this interview? And in the beginning, he said the entire purpose means the whole purpose, the 100% of the purpose of the private listing movement is primarily to get the Compass agents more listings. That's what it is. It's not to sell properties. He said it's not to do deals. It's to get their agents more listings. He doesn't want to admit, he kind of does admit it there, that it's also to get buyer leads. That's a big part of it as well. But the biggest part of it is just to throw a new mechanism out there sellers have never seen before by their trusted real estate agent that sounds all cool because this agent's very enthusiastic about it, to enable them to have an edge over the competition to get more listings. It's not to test properties. It's not for seller's choice. He didn't say it was for seller's choice. The rhetoric behind seller choice, and originally it was seller privacy. They moved away from that because sellers have all these rules already exist. You can already do everything that they want to do. Everything, test the property, seller choice, everything is already there in place as it is. The primary purpose is none of those things. Do you realize what I'm saying? they're screaming seller choice. The agents get behind that rhetoric and they get all excited. My seller should have choice. You're not giving them all the options. I'll cover that in just a second. Like, all the rules are in place right this second to do anything that you want to do. We don't have to go to war with the portals and the big man and get our agents all riled up about something that's already possible. You can already test your properties out on the market. You can already do all the things. So it's the primary purpose is to get more listings. That's all it is. Do you realize this? Right? If the agents would get behind that and say, listen, we want to use this to get more listings, right? Okay, let's forget about seller choice. They already have all the choices. We can already test our listings out and everything. So let's forget about all that. I'd love to see the agents that are behind this move over to what Roy just said, that this is just to give ourselves a different angle with sellers to get them to go with us when they're choosing who their listing agent is going to be. I would have so much more respect for the agents that are behind this if they would just tell the truth. Now, a lot of agents don't realize the truth, and that's why I'm making this video right now. If I was on a listing appointment, I was going up against agents who are offering this 3-phase marketing plan or private listing strategies and stuff, it'd be super easy for me to win the listing. I'd say, look, according to them, Compass, 94% of those private listings end up eventually going to MLS anyway, where they sell. So after 2 to 3 weeks of sitting there, missing out on potential buyers, they then put it on the market to actually sell it. So my question to you is do you just want to go ahead and sell it? Would you like to go ahead and get all the buyers that are out there looking for homes just like yours to actually look at your house right now over the next couple weeks? Or you just want to give it to them so they could squeeze it for every last drop of buyer leads that they possibly can on their website before actually doing what they need to do to sell it? Because their words, not mine, the private listing strategy is not to do deals. My fiduciary responsibility to my seller is to do a deal. Mr. Seller, my strategy is to do a deal, right? Their strategy is to not do a deal. He admitted there on the podcast that 2% of those private listings actually do double in. We're not trying to double in, but we get about 2%. There's no telling how many buyer leads they've gotten from this whole thing. But nevertheless, I do want to give you an update here, because in the interview, Rory said that no problem, he would come back on with James Dwiggins. So Roy reached out to me, wanted to come on my show. I said, great, let's bring James in. He's the most educated person I know. He's a pillar of the industry. He is the CEO of Next Home with 6,000 agents nationwide. And you guys should have a conversation. It's the conversation that needs to happen in the industry. He said, absolutely not going to happen. No way, nowhere, not going to happen. I said, all right, well, let's just not do the podcast. If you've got something to hide, you're not willing to talk to people about it. And it's funny because in the podcast, he actually said that industry leaders should talk about this kind of thing, but he wouldn't do it then. So I said, okay, I eventually caved in and said, okay, I'll just do it. Just me. That's fine. We can come on. And then I asked him live why he wouldn't do it with James. He agreed to come back on with James. And with 24 hours, not even 24 hours, they called and said, nope, not going to do the podcast with James. We'll replace him with this guy that's not even a Compass agent. James, of course, wasn't interested in doing that. He'd be happy to talk to anybody at Compass. And they basically said, like, our lawyer called and said we shouldn't be doing any podcast since we have this lawsuit with Zillow now. I was like, okay, makes sense, whatever. You guys backed out again. And then today I hear that Roy is calling other podcasts to come on and be interviewed. So it's just, if that doesn't tell you right there, and I would fear to say that he will never come back on my podcast ever again after what happened last week. The invitation still stands. Roy, you're welcome to come back on my show with just me. I mean, I'd like you to stand up for your word and actually come back on with James, seeing how you are still asking people for interviews to come on podcasts and everything. Nevertheless, let's move on to the subject at hand. Before we get into the different angles of the argument, I just want to say a lot of people are like, Ricky, you must be really pro Zillow. You must really just, be behind Zillow, own a lot of stock in Zillow. I have zero stock in Zillow. I've never paid them a dime. And I want to make a public service announcement right now about Zillow. Any agent, any real estate agent, and I've been saying this for years, any real estate agent team, whatever, who is paying Zillow for leads or anything, stop doing it right now. I say that we go on a Zillow boycott, Zillow lead boycott as an industry, right? The big bad Zillow. You know how you take Zillow down? Let them ban your listings so they don't have any inventory and stop buying leads from them. That'll take Zillow down real fast. And then what? And then they'll have to change their business model and move around, and that's where you could actually get some stuff done. You're worried about Zillow. You want competition. You want to like take down the big bad wolf and the monopolistic Zillow. Do what I'm saying. Let them ban your listings, and stop buying leads from them. And I'm giving a public service announcement right now for agents to do that, because I don't care what happens to Zillow or any of these other portals. I love the fact that America has a system that liquidates houses so incredibly fast, and it does so for the best interest of everyone involved. Buyers get to see every house that's out there. Sellers get to sell their house as quickly as possible for the most amount of money, and agents get to do their job. That's what I love about the current system. It's not about the portals for me or like Zillow's business model. I could care less about that. You know what I care about? I care about the fact that when you join the local MLS and you signed on to that code of ethics, you were agreeing and giving an oath to the rest of the agents in your market. That's who I'm worried about. The rest of the agents in your market, that they were going to share their listings with you, and you were going to share your listings with them so that everyone's buyers could have a fair shot at all the listings. For us to try to come in and tear that apart, that having a timeline involved that you have to post your listings in MLS is what this whole thing is about. You made an oath about this, and it's not by force. This is your choice. It isn't the law that you join MLS. There's no mandatory part about joining MLS. You can leave at any time you want and not have to worry about the rules. So this isn't about Zillow. I don't care about Zillow. This is about consumers and agents, and this isn't good for either side. For example, if a buyer goes to compass.com, which by the way, not a lot of buyers do. I mean, every website gets a little traffic, right? But compared to like the big like search portals, Compass is like 1% of the traffic. And so it's not like there's a ton of buyers going there. And honestly, I think that's what they're trying to do. They want to be their own like portal, control the inventory, which is why I can't understand why it seems like they would want their listings to be banned everywhere but their website. Nevertheless, you go to compass.com, you look for properties. At the very bottom there, let's say I'm a buyer, there's private listings I can see if I become a buyer lead. I can't see them if I don't become a buyer lead for Compass. And so say I don't want to become a buyer lead. So now I can't see those listings. I'm frustrated as a buyer. All I want to do is see the listings. The seller doesn't even realize that they missed out on a potential buyer during that private listing portal moment. And the agent doesn't either. The agent doesn't realize what was going on behind the scenes, if somebody clicked on something and then clicked out of it and didn't go there. That could have been somebody that would have looked at the property if it was on MLS. But no, we're not showing them that property. It's a private listing. I don't get it. And part of Compass's thing is we want to be able to share those listings. No, I don't think you do. I think every private listing, even if things opened up, you want to share them to the other agents in the market, but you want any buyers in the general public looking on your website to actually become a buyer lead. That's what part of this is about. I say this is 75% for Compass to get more listings and 25% for Compass to get more buyer leads. There's no other explanation because all the rules are in place right now for you to do everything you want to do. So let's talk about seller's choice. Seller choice. First off, it was seller privacy. That was the argument. That didn't catch any movement with the agents. So, and plus you already have privacy. You can click no internet option on MLS when you put a listing in. You can put don't display the address. And so you can have complete privacy by listing a property and putting it in MLS. You have all the privacy you always have. that this has never been about seller privacy. It's not about seller's choice, because they switched to seller choice. It got the agents energized, and a movement started to happen. So the agents got behind it. So they just ran with this. Our sellers should have the choice. But the problem with that argument is that it's not really seller's choice if you're not giving them all the options available and letting them make a choice. Agents are commenting on my Instagram, and they're saying all this stuff about sellers should be able to make all these decisions and hashtag seller choice. It's not about seller choice because you're not giving them all the options. Do you realize that an open listing is not bound to any MLS rules whatsoever? You could take an open listing and do anything you want with it. There's no MLS rules against what you do with an open listing. Have at it. And when a seller is sitting down at a listing appointment, right? My question is the Compass agent offering that as an option for the seller, and saying, hey, there's also an option here for open listing that allows you to do all this, and this. That's an option if you want to go that route, and letting the seller make a choice. No, they're not doing that. All they're doing is giving the options that's best for the agent. And like Rory said, they're pro-agent. They want to do what's best for the agent only. And they hope, like he said, that translates into what's best for the consumer. And like I said on the podcast, Roy, how can every single thing that's good for the agent 100% always translate into what's best for the consumer? They don't care about that. Like, it's obvious. They don't care about what's best for the consumer. They just want their agents to be able to get more listings. So if you're offering your seller an open listing as well as all the other options available to them, and letting them make the choice and giving the seller a choice instead of just showing them what you want to show them very enthusiastically, and it's this plan, this 3-phase marketing plan they've never seen before, they've never heard of it, but they have their trusted agent sitting in the living room being really enthusiastic about it. And so you're sitting there and of course they're going to go with it because you're like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Of course they're going to go with it. Of course they're going to go with you over the other agents because they've never seen this thing and it sounds so amazing. But the truth of the matter is that it's not amazing. I'm going to go through some stats in just a second just to show you how unamazing it actually is. But coming back to the seller's choice, are you giving them that option? And this brings up a really incredible point, and that is, why is Compass not suing NAR? Is that a good question? Is that an interesting question? Have you thought about that question? Because they're suing everybody else. They're suing Zillow. They're suing the Northwest MLS. Why aren't they suing any of the other MLSs? And why aren't they suing NAR? Just, go to the top. I'll tell you why. It's because NAR has this open listing policy as one of their policies, which allows you to bypass all the MLS rules. And so literally the rules are already in place for you to do anything that you want to do right now. And if they sued NAR on that basis, they know they would lose. That's why they're not suing NAR. You think they're not suing NAR out of the kindness of their heart? You think they're not suing NAR because they don't want to sue NAR? Not suing NAR because they don't have anything to sue them for, because everything's already in place for people to do anything they already are trying to fight for to do. The reason they're suing Northwest MLS is because guess what? Bing, bing, bing. Northwest MLS is not governed by NAR. And so they're able to sue them because Northwest MLS changed the rule of the open listing policy. Right? Bad move for Northwest MLS, and that opened the legal liability door up for Compass to come in and take that action against Northwest MLS. Nevertheless, think about that for just a second. It is a good question. It is an interesting question. It's one I think you should ponder if you're on the other side of this thing. Just be open-minded to what I'm saying. If something I'm saying doesn't resonate with you or help you improve your position, maybe it confirms that where you are is where you want to be. Awesome. That's a win for both of us. Before I share the horrendous stats on private listings, I want to talk about this testing the market angle of the argument. Hey, my seller has to, do some remodeling and has to do this, or they just want to test the price and see if it's, fits the market before they go full boogie, or, whatever the case may be. They want to avoid days on the market, all this weird stuff, because it is weird, because you can literally do it right this second. You don't have to change any rules. You can maintain the code of ethics and the oath that you made with the rest of the agents in your market and still do everything that it is that you want to do? Why do we have to break the code of ethics, change the rules, do all this weird stuff just to continue to do what we could already do in the first place? You can test the market through your office right now. Office exclusives is legal. You can offer office exclusives only to agents in your brokerage. Okay, what Compass wants to do is be able to advertise those on their website publicly. What Compass wants to do is be able to advertise those to agents outside of their brokerage, right? Why? Why do you want to do all that stuff? Why not stay where we are, where we have this amazing system, where we have this ability, where we don't crumble the entire program, the entire system down to looking like one of these other countries where you literally have to go to 15 different portals and you still don't even see all the homes for sale. You can test the market out through office exclusives. That's totally fine to do right now. It doesn't break any rules within the agents in your office. Is that not enough? Is that not enough to test the market? You need just like 0.001% more? Because again, testing the market, you need, any economist will tell you, you need 50% or more of the market share of buyers' eyeballs on that product to be able to effectively test the market. This isn't a testing of the market. This is just waiting to put it on the real market. But that's my question to you. If you want to test the market, why not do it the way that you can already do it? Why are we fighting so hard to be able to share those private listings publicly on our website and to other agents and other brokerages? I don't understand why we're fighting so hard for that one little issue. I can tell you why. Because any little issue that the agents of Compass and other brokerages that are going for this private thing get behind, then the leadership takes that and runs with it. They take the pass, they grab it, and they run for the touchdown and scream at the top of their lungs and just keep the energy, keep the movement going. And why do they want to keep it going? I have no earthly clue, because the more I look at the situation, the more I realize that this would not even turn out good. And I told Rory this on the podcast. I don't believe that this would even turn out good for Compass itself. Think about it. If everything's fragmented out, I mean, let's just take a Compass agent. Like, you help your seller sell, they went private listing. Maybe they went, on the market, sold it. Maybe you sold it as a private listing. Whatever happened. You sell the property, and now your seller is a buyer. And so now your buyer that was a seller, now you're in the market to buy a home, but like, you can't see every home for sale, right? Remax has private listings, EXP has private listings, Keller Williams has private listings, Anywhere has private listings, Coldwell Banker has private listings, Berkshire Hathaway, all these different brokerages have their own private listing portal that you can't see unless you sign up. Well, yeah, the agents, let's just say that Compass gets what they want for whatever reason, that the other agents of the other brokerages can see those private listings. So now we're going to a place trying to like hide listings like off the market and not share them, just to turn around and share them with everybody. It's like, we already have the system in place right now. It's called MLS. Like, everybody gets to see it. Yeah, but like pre-market, like if you don't want it on the market, just do it the right way that's in place right this second. Just an off-market office exclusive shared with the other agents in your brokerage. You don't have to go to all this. All this is already in place. But my point is that Compass, from what I can tell, Compass has like around 30,000 agents. I see a lot of different numbers, like 30,000 agents. I mean, you got companies with 200,000 agents, 150,000 agents, 100,000 agents, 131,000 agents, 90,000 agents, 80,000 agents. Like, I honestly believe, like, if we went to like a very, very private listing and like we go all the way, far, far, far to this side where private listings become like the way, and we do operate like these other countries and have all these different portals, I think in that world, Compass actually loses big time. I don't think agents are going to swarm to one of the smallest companies out of the big 10 companies, right? They're probably going to leave the company. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm thinking ahead, why are they fighting so hard for this thing? And that's kind of like, I guess in their mind, they believe that the controlling the inventory, even though they're probably like maybe number 8 or something like that in terms of size, controlling the inventory of their company is actually going to push and elevate their company to the next level. I just don't understand how exactly. So then it brings me back to, if all the rules are already in place and this isn't really going to do much for them company wise, then why are they doing it? Well, we're doing it for the seller. We're doing it for our agents. No, you're not, because like the sellers already have all the choices. If it was about seller choice, you'd give them all the options. You let them actually choose. And the agents are actually losing deals because of buyers that would have bought those properties while they were private listings. Like, I'm just scratching my head here. I'm just grasping for straws. Like, what's happening? Maybe you can let me know in the comments, like, why this is such a big thing. Because it's not seller choice, it's not seller privacy, it's not so you can test properties on the market. I've already proved all those things wrong, right? And Roy told me, he was like, I was like, okay, so yeah, this is the next best thing in terms of like throwing the seller something new that they've never seen before, so that you can get listings, and that's the primary purpose of it, right? So what happens when everybody's doing it? Well, we'll come up with something else. We'll come up with another thing, and we'll be creative around something else to help agents get listings. The whole thing is to just help agents get listings. It's like, why are you fighting so much for this thing? You can already do all those things. It's wild to me. So the comps, like if the stats, okay, there was a university. So this isn't from like an MLS or real estate. University did analyst. They analyzed 1 million transactions across 6 states from 2019 to 2023. They found that MLS listings sold for 17.5% more than comparable off MLS sales. 17.5% more. This is like every sale on average, 17.5. You might have had some that sold for a little more, a lot less, whatever. The average, 17.5% more, so 17.5% less when it's a private listing off. Well, 94% of our listings go to MLS anyway. The whole purpose of the thing is not to do deals, Ricky. I get it. I'm just trying to prove a point that if we go to a private listing environment, okay, that this is not going to be a good thing for U.S. homeowners. I believe that this is a way that we will see a drop in prices. In 2022, that would have been almost $54,000. That's a new car. That's a year of college tuition. Okay, and what the study actually did prove too is that the premium grew over the course of the years. It was 13% in 2019. What MLS listings got more money. And by 2022, that had grown from 13 to 18%. From 19 to 22, it grew from 13 to 18%. Okay. The market's literally punishing private listings more and more every year. Let's see. There was another study. They did. It was from 2015 to 2022 across 6 counties. Same result. MLS listings sold for 17% more than off MLS sales. There was another study, 10 million transactions. They found that off-market sellers lost an average of $5,000. So a different study, an average of $5,000 per deal, right? With a total losses of $1 billion in just 23 and 24 alone. And also took longer to sell. So private listings took 37 days to sell. And MLS, the first study showed that it took 85% longer to sell. So MLS listings took 20 days and the private listings took 37 days. So that was during that market time, right now where days on the market are a lot higher, etc. But the fact still remains, private listings are going to take longer. That makes perfect sense. Less buyers seeing the property is going to make it take longer on average to sell those properties. So the data shows across multiple studies that it takes longer to sell at a lower price. How is that good? How is that good for the agent, the buyer, the seller? I can see how the buyer might have an advantage if you're the one that bought the property. But see, that's the problem. The whole reason why it's a lower price is because all the buyers don't get to see the property. So the buyers don't win. You might say, oh, well, that's great for buyers because they get a cheaper price. But the thing is they might have bought the house that they didn't really want. They settled for it because they couldn't see everything for sale. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? And here's the part that disturbs me the most about some of this data. One of the studies showed that They broke the losses down by demographics. The majority black neighborhoods saw 5,500 average loss. Hispanic neighborhoods, 13,000, over 13,000 average losses. Compare that to the majority of white neighborhoods that had a $4,000 average losses. So not only are private listings like causing properties to sell for less money, but they're also creating housing inequality. They're literally making racial wealth gap worse. And that's the direction we want to go. And we want to push that. That's where we want to go. Ricky, it's not about that. It's about sellers being able to make choices. They already have the choices. You're just not giving them the choices. I heard an argument about the open listing from an agent. I worked too hard to get in the position to get where I am to take an open listing that doesn't guarantee commission. Oh, so that it because it's not what's best for you, right? It might be what's best for the seller for them to have the choices to do different things, and that option is available. It is available, but because it's not 100% what's best for you, you don't even want to give them that option, but yet you want to scream seller's choice. I don't get it. I don't understand. Help me. Help me help you by helping me understand what's going on here. And that brings up another incredible point about the minorities, like sheltering these and kind of, I'm just going to say it, hoarding. And that Rory said, why should a seller have to get into an open listing to be able to do what they want to do? I can answer that. It's so that agents and brokerages can't hoard listings so that for their own best interest. That's why they have to do that. But the thing is if you have listings and it's creating a wider inequality gap, racial gap, and you have all these statistics, how is this getting around the fair housing? How is this not breaking any kind of fair housing rules? It's another question. It's a good question. Haven't really heard anybody really talk about it. I heard some people bring it up, but I'm just wondering. And it kind of makes sense with what Compass did in their latest update to their disclosure in the 3-phase marketing plan. They added a paragraph, and I'll just quote part of it. It says that the Compass office private exclusives coming soon. It's not on the MLS. Properties not distributed to other brokers firms or other public sites, which could reduce, and it actually should say, which more than likely will reduce the number of potential buyers who can learn about the property, the number of showings, the number of offers, and the final sales price for the property. They have to put that. It's literally typed in their disclosure that this could reduce the number of people who can actually learn about the property, about the fact that other agents aren't going to see this property. It could reduce the number of offers. What seller wants less offers, or the final sales price for the property? It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. So guys, I'm just here to just speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Have I said anything that was not true here on this video today? I'd love to hear any of your comments. I'm going to read every single comment and respond to every comment. But at the end of the day, I feel like I still don't understand. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of why this fight is happening. If Zillow's the problem, if you just want to take Zillow down, that doesn't have anything to do with CCP. They're banning your listings, not because they're not on Zillow's website first. They're banning your listings because you're not following the rules that you agreed to when you joined the local MLS. You have a choice. You can leave the MLS and not have to abide by any of the rules. Why do you want your listings on Zillow, the big bad wolf, anyway? I don't get it. I don't understand why this fight is happening. I still don't understand to the core what it really is, because I can't see a positive outcome even for Compass if they win all these battles. So leave your comments. I'm more than open-minded to hearing all sides of this so that, guess what? I can improve my position.